Yeah.
Mr. Young, have you ever saved a life?
Well, I mean, possibly. I mean, I think I have. There was on several occasions when I was the park ranger where I came across and rendered first aid to people who, definitely need it in terms of accident scenes and even in some law enforcement situations where people were in trouble. And I mean, if I were not there, I was just happening the first one on the scene. So yeah, I think I probably made a difference.
That's good. Can you give us an example of one?
Well, there's a lot of examples of like first aid emergencies where you come across accident victims, and until the ambulance comes, you're the first one to render aid. So in some of those instances, the people may have been in serious trouble had not someone come along to give aid, and I was just the first ones to do so. There was a couple of choking victims, and the Heimlich maneuver actually does work if you do it properly. There's some trauma injuries, some bleeding injuries, and even some unsuccessful ones, which are tragic. There's a law enforcement incident which we had talked about earlier, where my partner and I had come across two kidnapping, and we did not know it at the time. They were handcuffed in the back of the car, and we were on late night patrol, and all we saw was a parked car, and the gentleman urinating in the bushes, and we parked the patrol car, and while my partner went to interview the occupants of the car, I went up to the gentleman who was leaving himself, and I didn't know it, but he had kidnapped two young ladies, and went to the park because it was a secluded area, left them in the car while he had to take care of business. And fortunately for me, he had left his gun underneath the driver's seat, and he meant to come back in just a few seconds. It was just then that he drove up, and had he taken the gun with him, I would not be here today, because he probably just would have shot me right there. That's crazy. Yeah, sometimes I think about that. And, life turns out the best sometimes. And sometimes it's just a matter of dumb luck. That was a matter of dumb luck.
Just like the lady. Yeah. Have you ever, you love animals, I mean, who doesn't actually? Any animals you've ever saved?
Well, I've always had an opportunity to go ahead and work with animals a lot, being a biologist. There was an incident that occurred when I was young, and I'm not sure if I'm real proud of this, because usually I'm not a real violent person, but and I never used to get in fights when I was a young kid, but I did get into one memorable fight over frogs. I was walking down the street in my neighborhood, and there was another kid who was about my age, and he had a bucket full of toads, actually, garden toads, and one of those push lawnmowers. And he was taking great delight in scooping up a frog from his pail, dumping it on the lawn, and then running over it with a lawnmower. And it offended my sensibilities at the time, so I took his frogs away from him, and of course he didn't like that, and then I kind of sort of hit him a couple times and kept his frogs. So I guess I saved a bucket full of toads that day. He and his father actually came to visit us and was knocking at our door afterwards. And Dad was irate. What? Why did you beat up my son? And then, I was really scared because, he was a strange adult. I had to explain to him that, he was running over football. And of course, the father, to his credit, kind of sort of understood right away and grabbed his son took them off to meet whatever punishments dads give their sons who run over products. So.
Oh my gosh, that kid. Well, speaking of children, and since you're a teacher, you work with a lot of students. Then, is there anything? Is like, what type of legacy do you want to leave for students?
I think the most important thing that I want to leave is just to for the students to whatever their goal is in life is to follow something with a passion. Do something and give 100% of it. You know, when I was young, the best advice my dad ever gave me, when I was attempting to figure out a college major, was go for something that interests you, and not just interests you, but something that you have a passion for. Because if you have a passion for it, you're going to be successful. It might be difficult, it might be hard at first, but eventually you're going to be good at it, and if you're good at it, and if you're passionate enough, you'll make a living at it. And I think that's the best advice that I can give students, particularly high school students, because you're right at that age where you're trying to figure out, well, what the heck am I to do with my life? And the big thing is find something that you enjoy. Don't find something that, when you think, well, it's going to make me money, but I'm going to enjoy myself doing something else. If you enjoy your job, then you're going to enjoy every day of your life, because most of your life is going to be spent working. So you might as well spend it doing something that you really, really enjoy. I think that's it.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much, Miriam. Thank you.
I'm not sure if the second one was better. I think the first one was better, but